Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Ink and Fig. My name is Alex, and today I wanted to give you an update on where I am at with the Orilium readathon. We're doing okay. We're not as far ahead as I would like to be. I believe it's the 10th of August today, so we're about a third of the way through the month. And I would not say that I'm a third of the way through my reading yet, so it's fine. I'm not panicking yet. I'm not panicking yet. I'll put it that way. So, you may remember from my last video that I had already finished one of my books before August actually technically started, so I started off on a good note. And then I was working on The Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas for my court book, which I believe was my O-level for Conjuration. I have finished that. We finished it. It was actually kind of really good. I have expressed in past videos that I have been skeptical of the Sarah J. Maas books because they've been so hyped. And generally, I don't know that that's necessarily the best gauge for whether or not a book is good. And so I'm breaking down my own barriers and I'm going ahead and reading them. And so now I finished the second one. And I think I can solidly say that I am going to be keeping up with this series. I'm going to finish it, not right now because I've got readathon stuff to do, but perhaps in September, maybe October, I will pick up the next one and keep going because I think this story is kind of sucking me in a really cool way. Like the plot itself is not what I would how do I frame this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm an asshole? It's not the, most clever work of art plot I've ever seen in my life. The writing is really good, which I think surprised me based on what I knew of the plot. I was like, this is gonna read like bad fan fiction, and no, it reads really, really well. Reads like good fan fiction, you know what I mean? It just hits the spot. It's spicy. So if you like spice, it's definitely a good one. If you don't like spice, weirdly, I think you could probably skip those parts. I don't think it necessarily adds anything to the story. I think it's just there for lack of better framing, fan service. That's what we would call it in anime, and that's what I'm gonna call it for this book. It is absolutely fan service. It doesn't really forward the plot in any way. It's just spice for the sake of spice, and that's totally fine. It is good spice, if that's something you're looking for. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it, mostly because I'm still kind of trying to get emotionally invested in these characters, but what happened in the second book, I think, was better than what happened in the first book. The first book felt pretty contrived, and the second book actually felt like it made sense. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. We're good. I'm okay with this. So it's going well. I am enjoying it. And I'm looking forward to reading the next one. What I'm working on next, what I'm working on right now is Beartown. One of you very helpfully in the comments of my last video explained to me what this book is actually about. Because I just assumed from like the first couple pages that it was like going to be about hockey and murder, and turns out murder I don't think is going to be part of this book at all. But there are other crimes, namely sexual assault. I am about 40% of the way through this book, and that has not happened yet, but it's looming. We're in a situation right now. We're at like a house party with a bunch of teenagers, and something awful is about to happen. So that's great. Hate that for me. This book is actually really good. So if you can deal with that particular trigger warning, I think this might be a good book to read. I think the insights into life are really good in this book. Like I wish that I had my tabs with me for some of the parts of this book that I've been reading, because it's actually been talking about some of the existential stuff that I've been talking to people in real life about recently, before I even got to it in this book, and it's just wording my thoughts even better for me, which I love. One of the big messages of this book so far is sort of questioning masculinity and what it is to be a man and grow into a man and how that is framed in the context of hockey and being in a remote community, because your world shrinks a lot when you're in a community like that, and your worldview, and perhaps your sense of context for your problems is not as broad as it would be in a large city where sort of everything seems like your problem, and your problems are contextualized differently in the context of a larger society. So when you're in a very small town, everybody's problems are big problems, and they are big problems. Like, we have a character whose husband passed away, and she's dealing with her grief. There's another character who had sort of his life changed based on the decision of another person, and now he's dealing with alcoholism and serious mental health challenges because of that. And like, everybody in this book does have big problems, and I love that. And perhaps because it's set in a small town, those problems are given appropriate weight, whereas in a larger city like where I live, those kinds of problems are like, oh well, I mean, you'll just get over it, right? Or like, we can brush that under the rug. It's not that big of a deal. And it is a big deal, you know, for individual people, those things are big deals. And this, I think, gives that appropriate weight. All, of course, in the context of hockey, because this book is about hockey and about a hockey team and a hockey town. And being Canadian and having worked in a small town, I understand the weight of hockey in the cultural zeitgeist of a place. So I'm like, this absolutely is ringing true for that. And I really like that. The writing in this is fantastic. Although I know that there is going to be a very serious problem that's about to happen in this book, I literally can't stop laughing at it. Because this guy can turn a phrase unlike anybody else I've ever seen. It's incredible. I'm absolutely loving it. It's a joy to read. Unfortunately, it is reading quite slowly for me, and I'm not sure if that's because of the book itself or if that's just because of like my still working through my own like reading slump things that have been happening since April. So I mean, we're just going to take that as it comes. It's going to be fine. So, moving on from here, what is next? The next book I'm planning on reading is Unlocking by Amy LeBlanc, because that one is, first of all, I'm really excited to read it, but second of all, it is quite short, so I think I can get through it in probably a weekend and just get that one off my plate, because then I can feel like I've accomplished more than I actually have. I still need to make it over to my friend's house with a short stack of books for the cat to pick me a read. And I was thinking that we could pick out that short stack of books here together right now. Okay, so welcome to my shelves. So what I think I want to do for this short stack is I want to pick out 4 different books of varying, you know, genre and length, more or less. But I don't want to, like, I'm gonna try to kind of weight it so that I don't end up with something like River City right there, which is absolutely huge. Sorry, this is one of my lights. So let's pick some stuff. Okay, I think one of the ones I'm gonna pick is On Rotation, because I was really stoked when I got this, and then I never ended up getting to it. Story of my life. So we're gonna put that one in the stack. Is there anything else in the contemporary section that I want to add in here? Okay, so I'm going to grab also Shoko's Smile. I completely forget what this one is about, but this was recommended to me by another reader, so I would really like to see this. It seems to be a series of short stories, and I love that for myself. Okay, so here's our stack so far. We're going to put the stack here. Perfect. Okay. I've got my mystery section up here. Not feeling any of that. I've got sort of my fantasy stuff, well, fantasy-ish. I got a couple of outliers down here, and I'm not entirely sure why they're sitting there, but that's fine. We don't need to ask those questions right now. I've got my YA section over here, and actually, I see one that I would like to read. This is Stoneblind. It's clearly about Medusa. Really excited about that one. So we're going to stick that in the stack. And we're going to find one more. Let's go over to the horror section. Horror, that's my sci-fi stuff. This is my horror stuff. These are my classics. There's some good ones in here. Actually, I'm gonna add confessions in here in the hope that I get this, because this sounds unbelievable. This sounds like a couple of Asian horror video games that I've played, and I'm actually really excited about that. So we're gonna put that in the stack also. All right, just gonna tuck that in there. So there is my short stack. We're going to take that over to my friend's house in probably the next video and get their cat Aurora to pick me one of these books. And then we're gonna read that as one of my last books for this readathon. That's going to potentially change the entire trajectory of this month based on what she picks. And then I still need to consult with the Instagram to see what book I am going to be reading for that prompt. Because one of my other prompts is to read the first book that I see on Instagram. So we're going to open up my Instagram and we're going to scroll until we see a book. And then that's going to be the book that I'm going to read. And I'm kind of worried about that because I foresee that book, for better or for worse, being Fourth Wing, which I purchased because I really wanted it, but it's big, and I'm not sure how I feel about that given the challenges that I've been having with reading lately. So that's going to be interesting if I get that one, and it might also be something short. You never know. I saw the first book that happened when I opened up Instagram today happened to be Six of Crows, and I know that I can read that in 4 days. So all may not be lost. Maybe I'll get Six of Crows. Maybe I'll get Fourth Wing. Maybe I'll get something that I don't own. It's going to be a surprise, and we're going to figure it out. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm trying not to panic because the month is slipping away from me, and I don't know how I feel about that, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. That is where I am at right now. If you're doing the readathon, I would love to hear about how you're doing down below in the comments. We're in this together, and it's going to be fine. We're going to get there. We still have like 21 days left of the month. It's going to be okay. We got this. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not yet so that you don't miss any of my future videos. I've got a cat coming up in one of the next videos, and that's going to be a good time. Leave me a like if you liked this video so that other people can come and join the fun and see all of the fun stuff that we're doing over here. And I think that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.